vodka cup champions.
Yep. Hello and welcome to episode 65 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast, with your hosts Mark and myself, Paul. Our form page to the podcast is celticrumours.co.uk, and in the description below you can see all the links to the podcast. You can also hear us on Spotify, Twitch, Linktree, and we have a group of listeners to the form page and podcast on Discord. So join us on the forum or Discord to discuss all things Celtic with Celtic supporters. On tonight's show, we will take a look at the latest transfer news around the club, new players analysis, players likely to leave or loaned out, credit where credit is due to the board and new CEO Michael Nicholson, and look ahead to the next league game on the 17th due to the winter break. And of course, we'll be going through the live chat throughout the podcast. So if there's anything you wish us to discuss, please let us know. Firstly, Mark will do a few shout outs.
Thanks very much, Paul. Quick shout outs to the usual guys: Tim Alloy, a Glasgow Green, Rich and his family, Campsie Boy, and John United Ireland, and also Bob for the forum. I don't know if that's Bobby Sutherland, is it? Is that you, Bobby?
Mhm.
Is that
Yeah.
Bobby Sutherland? Or just a message there saying he hadn't been keeping too well. Well, hope you're feeling better now, Bobby. Get well soon, bud. There's a jabber of job he's in. Terence is in. George McDougall. George has been in here before, hasn't he? Welcome aboard, George. And see Terence here. Terence, if you want to jump on, just let us know, bud, and we'll get you on, sir. That's us, Paul. We lost a subscriber. That disaster. I don't know what happened. We're back down to 519. We'll more than that wee subscriber, hope it comes back. Thanks very much for everybody that's subscribed and tunes in and watches and listens back to everything. Just we really appreciate all the encouragement and the help. Thanks very much, lads.
Frank McAvenny has been speaking on Sky Sports this week, and he said he expects permanent deals for Yotta and Cameron Carter-Vickers to be done as soon as early as next week. Celtic are set to seal Johnny Kenny transfer from Sligo by the weekend. The young Sligo starlet looks set to be heading to Celtic in a deal worth £125,000. Has been agreed between the two clubs. I'm led to believe here that Kenny is on his way to Celtic Park this weekend and is looking to seal the deal. Celtic are also linked with Hibs ringer Martin Boyle, who was valued at £3 million. Hibs themselves are bracing themselves from a number of bids from other clubs throughout the transfer window. Young Celtic midfielder Owen Henderson has become the first casualty of the Ange era, and he will be joining up with former Celtic player and now Hibs manager Sean Maloney at Hibs on loan until the end of the season. Owen Henderson's contract at Celtic runs out at the end of the season. Myself and Mark will discuss this in more detail as we talk about players leaving Celtic. Dundee are considering terminating striker Lee Griffiths' loan deal. This could see Lee Griffiths returning to Celtic Park. And the question here is, would you like Lee Griffiths to return to Celtic for the last 6 months of his contract, as his deal is also running out at the end of the season? That's all for the transfer news of today.
Can't see Griffiths having much future at Celtic, Paul, can you?
What I was looking at it, Mark, was when we had Kyogo was injured and Giamarcus was injured, and people were saying kind of calling for Griffiths to come back, but how many chances has he got, Mark? Do you know what I mean? It's not a fully fit Griffiths. How is he going to fit in, Mark? Do you know what I mean? He's not.
Well, if he's not pulling his weight at Dundee, you know what I mean? He's not done any at Dundee for Dundee are saying them black. But as you said as well, what kind of puts his physics, puts his kind of physical condition with kind of Nixon and just, I mean, just...
I think it's the whole package, no, Mark, at this stage.
It's the baggage, Paul. It's the baggage that he brings, and for me, that the last carry on, whether we're getting into the ins and outs, you know what I mean. But that, for me, that was the last straw. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. You can't, right, as we've spoke about it before, right? He had mental health problems and that. But fully feel sorry for anybody that suffers from mental health problems. Guys we know, myself included. Do you know what I mean? But that last carry on with him, Paul, for me, that was just a step too far. There was no coming back to Celtic after that for me.
I think you had a few lads in the live chat as well, kind of saying it's kind of a no from them as well, Mark. You know, Terence is kind of saying no. The Jabby Jobbers is saying no. Like, I think a lot of Celtic fans would be in that board. You know, like you've had your chance, Lee Griffiths. Like, you know what I mean? You had a chance to. You got a 1 year's contract extension, Mark, to redeem yourself.
The best
Play
thing
yourself
the best
and
thing
just
could
plan.
happen, the best thing could happen, Paul, is pay him up his contract and free him this month so that he's got a chance to find another club.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's only
it's a pity, Mark, because the talent is there.
Wages.
Yeah,
But
do you know, it's a shame for him, like, because the talent is there. You know,
Lee Griffiths should have been. Lee Griffiths should have probably been too good to play for Celtic, Paul. As in, like, if he came here and worked, he'd have got a move to a bigger money club and that. You know what I mean? But a bit better than Celtic, but because he just says his ability was there. He was one of the best natural finishers in Scotland but the last 10 years. Really, he is. His natural finishing ability, his free kicks, his delivery at dead balls and all that as well was also a good plus. And he just blew it. He's blew it. I mean, he'll retire, he'll be a rich man, but for me, he's blew his career as such. He really has. It's a bit.
he has.
You don't like to see players doing that as well. Do you know what I mean? But
No, you don't.
Some players are just not getting through to them. That's really what that is for me, Paul. They've not got the capability to take on board when people are trying to give them good advice. They just see these wages and think that they can do what they want and run about and carry on the way they want.
That's kind of a celebrity, Mark, these days as well, isn't it? You know, they're kind of. They're aware of nowhere kind of in this, you know. They don't listen to no one else. Kind of.
I mean, and it's a big step, Paul, for anybody going up through council schemes in Scotland and places like that and ending up with that kind of money. But that's it's not really an excuse because
he's not a young lad anymore, either, Mark.
No,
and
other guys have came for these kind of housing schemes and they've made the changes to their life to go on and progress and become a good professional, and that's the main thing. Lee Griffiths wasn't a good professional. You know, I mean, he never was a good trainer. He never really exerted himself or pushed himself for that. And if he had done that, who knows where he'd have ended up?
Exactly.
Campsie, boy. Evening, Campsie, mate.
So speaking of players and deals that need to be done, Mark, there's two ones that Celtic fans are screaming for the Celtic board to get done, and that's Jota and Cameron Carter, because we're led to believe through the media, and Frank McAvenny was on Sky Sports yesterday. He was saying he's expecting them to be done as early next week. It's crucial Celtic get Vickers done anyway, and Jota, but Vickers more so, I think.
I don't know if it's really crucial, Paul, because we've got this the summer to finalise the deal, but I would still like to see the two of them finalised this month. I mean, if you've signed
I'm saying it's crucial to get it done because in case other teams come sniffing around, you know.
Well, that's a good point. But again, we've got the option. It's up to us then, Paul, to talk them into that they want to be here.
Do you think they will get done? Would you expect them to stay considering like the good vibe that's around the club at the moment with Ange and stuff?
Well, I think the Jota deal's kind of nearly done and dusted, Paul, for what I've heard. The Carter Vickers deal, I think it's just actually. I think the fee and all that's obviously agreed, but I think what they're talking about now is how it's going to actually be paid. I think that's the thing. Like, how's it going to be? The structure of the payments, because it's Celtic only turning around and handing out £6.5 million to Benfica. Do you know what I mean? It's paid in instalments, so it's just down to that.
Mhm. Moving on, of course, breaking news since the 1st of January, and with the transfer window just opened a couple of hours, Celtic confirmed they have signed Dijon Mida, Yoko Ideguchi, and Rio Hete. So let's have a look at the new signings and we'll see what they can bring to Celtic. Starting off with Dijon Mida, aged 24 years old, plays mostly on the left, but his rounded skill set, a great fit for both wide positions and central positions. Gets into scoring positions relentlessly. He's high in attack. He's high in pressing. He doesn't like to hold on to the ball, Mark, more so than what Yotta would do. He's not that kind of player. He, finishing, uh, he's intense. He's very good. He finds space. He finds space in crucial areas. Gets to high quality chances. Excellent exposing small spaces behind defences. Determined to get to the chances at first. He's a good aerial finisher as well. Chances creation. He's relentless in attack. Beats defenders in wide areas, and he crosses. He crosses low into high quality spaces for oncoming midfielders or attackers to chase up the ball. Ability to create quality passes for through balls into space to find empty spaces to pick out players. Ball possession. He's good at controlling the ball. He's a progressive first touch. He's excellent carrier. He uses his strength and has excellent acceleration to beat defenders. Great movement into space behind the defensive line. Defensive positions. He's aggressive. He's relentless, determined, and he's intelligent. Puts defenders under constant pressure with his tireless running. Likes the high press and works tirelessly throughout the game. Physically, he's fast, he's strong, he's agile. Mark, I think it was back in October when I mentioned Mida to you, and I sent you clips on YouTube of him. And I haven't been this excited in a long time, Mark, to see a player put on a Celtic jersey.
No, I'm the same, Paul.
Mida.
I'm the same. I've just gone with the videos and that. We've seen him. I think he could be a job or a job. He said there that he'll be a superstar for us. I can see that. I can actually see Maida being better than Kyogo for us.
Mm.
Really,
But firstly, like when Ange first came in, this is how I came about Mida, is that Ange signed him for Yokohama, and the journalist is it Dan Oldfitz, Mark, is this?
the boy I said to you, follow on Twitter,
predicted that Ange would go for Mida, and all the Japanese journalists and all the Japanese media were saying Mida will be Ange's first thing. But what happened, well, we'll live to believe what happened, is that Yokohama were in the title race and they weren't going to be prepared to let Mida go through mid-season when they were still in the champion race. But I think he was tracked by Ange first day, Mark, when he came to Celtic, and
just pinpointed at him as a target,
yeah, and like everyone was shocked that Kyogo was the first player that Ange approached in the J League. Everyone thought it was going to be Mida, but he's coming, Mark. He's only 24 years of age. He's a young lad, but by God, Mark, this fella can run. This fella has skill.
That was the thing that really caught my eye, Paul. He's burst up pace. Somebody, I mean, this job or a job he's so where he sees them play, but we'll get into that. But it was for me, take a lot of the videos Paul mentioned to you, it was as if he's playing the right wing, and the guys were maybe having a yard or two a start on him, but still not even catching him, he was getting in front of them. It's burst that speed that he has on him. I mean, that's frightening for sort of team like Celtic playing in the Scottish League, Paul, to have a player with that kind of pace.
The thing that gets me, Mark, is like we have him, right, and we have Kyogo, two players who know we're going to run tirelessly, right, and we said it at times, Mark, against likes of Livingston, Ross County, and St Johnston, is that we look laboured, that we look too slow, we look things like that we couldn't find the spaces. Neither could be this player, Mark, that's going to exploit those spaces and create the space for players to move around, because he won't stop.
The front three, Paul's frightening. I think that when
Yeah.
you look at Jota, Kyogo and Mida out on the right hand side, if that's where he's going to be playing. But I mean, that is, I spoke about it, Paul, how against teams like Livingston, we need players that are picking their way through these packed defences. And I think that Kyogo and Mida partnership, I think that'll be something that'll really flourish once the two of them get up to speed together. And as you say,
I think Mark is going to be it's going to be special. Like, you know what I mean? Like
it's not just Kyogo that's doing the high press either. Maida's going to be doing that as well. I mean,
exactly, you're going to have two
constantly
players
runs
like that,
as well. I know.
That wants, and plus, Mark, he's good in the air as well. You know what I mean? He's not just a great finisher with his feet, like, but he's headed goals as well. Like, he's not afraid to throw his body on the line either. You know, he's not afraid of a tackle. He's strong. Like, he looks like that. He won't take any nonsense from the bullying of the Scottish League. No, I'm not saying bullying, like the physique of the Scottish League, Mark. He looks like a player like that will be able to handle that as well, don't he?
I think he will. I don't think there's much question of that. I mean, he's not the tallest, but you can tell he's well built. He's well let himself in that, Paul. I don't think the physical side will really bother him that much.
Moving on. Next up, we have Yogase Ideguchi. He's 25 years old. Can play as a number 8, but the skill set fits for him to play much in a deeper role at Celtic. Moves the ball well, smart in possession, and an aggressive presser, but he isn't the quickest of players. Very useful, maybe in a squad addition, to allow flexibility in the midfield. He's skill catching ball possession, looks to move the ball forward quickly. Best from playing in a deeper role with space and have more players moving ahead of him. Often just keeps things simple, finds the ball and moves it quickly out to wide areas. Very important in the transition of defence to attacks. Offensive position, keen to drop into deep positions, rolls, keeps out of space to create the pivot, opens the gaps to players around him. Supports in half pace is good. He's pivot to attacks and is very smartly placed in counter press. Defensive, understands his role, and he stays well behind the play, closes the space around him intelligently, but he's more used to a narrow midfield. He lacks in place, so that's an issue if he's asked to cover large areas. Although with Andrew's system of inverted full backs, this will help Celtic cope with his lack of pace. He holds up the ball, committing. He holds off from committing himself in defensive duels, focusing on his own permission, and can lead to him being passive at times. Not the strongest tackler, prone to overcommitting, which leads to needless fouls. Physical, he's short, not great pace, good counter-attacker and a good presser. Mark, I was looking through a forum page and I was looking through Discord and going by your post, I'm getting the impression you have your doubts about Gucci, as he likes to be known as.
That was because he likes to get caught. We'll keep going with that. We'll go with that then. I just think, Paul, that he's going to be a squad player for us. I don't think he's going to claim a starting spot for us. Just, as I said on the phone, I'm actually surprised that he got a work permit. I don't know. No, he's nowhere near the Japanese team. He's not a cap for nearly 3 years and things like that. So I think maybe it's just a bit of kind of, don't know, backup, a utility man, and kind of knows enough about that he knows he knows what jobs he'll be able to do, but I think he'll be on the bench for most of the time, Paul, to be honest.
I'm the opposite. I'm the opposite. I think Ange knows why he signed him.
Where's he going to play?
He's going to fit in Beaton's role. That's where he's going to fit there. Remember, I was always saying to you, we're missing, when I was going through Ange's stats at Yokohama, and I was raving about a player called Kida.
Aye.
Who was the pivotal Falamark who stayed behind the front line, that he never joined the attack, never joins the attack. He stays behind, and that's all he does is stay behind. And when the opposition attacks, he's the first one to come to press then, and he keeps the ball moving. So I'm actually seeing a lot of similarities here in Gucci, in Kida, and I think that's where Ange is going to have him in that role, that he's going to be the key for Celtic moving the ball more quickly into these wide areas, because even though I know Bison's been doing well there and stuff like that, I still think we're very slow in passing the ball from midfield to a thing, and I think that's why Ange signed the Gucci mark to get this ball moving faster.
Well, we'll see, but I don't honestly see him claiming a jersey right away. I really don't. And as you say, we've got Beaton there, you've got McCarthy in there, you've got, I mean, even plays McGregor in there. And McGregor is actually turning in, as he's getting older, maybe that's the kind of role McGregor's needing to get. Because he's not, I mean, we've seen it for the last couple of seasons, he's not been up playing that kind of box-to-box role, Paul. We've spoke about that privately as well. He's not doing that kind of job. He's not getting up there and scoring the goals that he used to score and things like that, McGregor. So, it'll be interesting. So, who would you go for your midfield three then?
Midfield three?
Aye. You'd go for Gucci, McGregor and Rogic.
Mm-hmm.
A bit lightweight, that.
When I was looking at it, and I'll speak of that, I'll speak to you more about that after I go through Rio. But I just think, Mark, that because of his style of play, like what I was reading of him, he has the too many similarities of Kida. Kida is the exact same kind of player that Ange had at Yokohama. He wasn't the fastest, and Ange used the inverted full backs, Mark, to cover that. Do you get me?
Aye. Aye.
So like Gucci will just stay there. He won't move. Like he'll stay in and around the centre circle, and he'll break up the play. And his role, Denmark, is to move the ball quickly. And then you're going to have the likes of Dijon, you're going to have Kyogo, you're going to have Jota, you're going to have Roger. These are players, Mark, who are going to move on. And his best asset, Mark, is passing. Gucci's asset, that's his best asset, is moving the ball quickly. And that's the only reason, because I was actually surprised as well, like, because when I was reading about him, like he's no stranger to European football. He played with Leeds 2018 and 2019 season, Mark. He was on their books, and he didn't get one game, not one appearance.
He went loan to a German team and then get a bad injury in Germany, wouldn't it?
But like,
but people, I know you're saying it, they're going to go in and talk about Rio. 30 as you pronounce it, Tete or whatever, Rio just come, I think, But
I just think we're missing that.
I'm just saying that he's going to be playing in that kind of role.
But he's more of a utility player. He can play, like, I'll just run through him. So next up, to me finding out, I've lost my, no, it's now over, Mark, like, disturbed me. He's attacking Jules. I have it. So next up, we have a excellent rounded skill set, seamlessly fulfilled, perfect fit, also as a number 8 or left back role, or as a centre midfielder. Could make an immediate effect in the transformation of Ange's team. Skill categories as follows. Very good in pass selection, His decision making is brilliant. Runs and puts through balls into opposition half, into space for players. Creates chances at high quality pace. Comfortable playing out wide with effective crosses, often cutting the ball back into the penalty box for on-running attackers. Receives the ball comfortable under pressure. Good at using his body. Great dribbler. Great running through traffic. Progressive ones are incisive and targets areas where there is space. Anticipates play very smoothly. Occasionally goes with the long pass as quick as possible. Picks up excellent positions out of position. Keeps access distance to passing to small lanes so he can receive the ball. Allowed, always looking to attack and always looking to support forwards players. Very keen to do the counter attack. He's a weak tackler. He's not strong in duels, but his positioning and understanding the game is excellent. He likes to do the high press. He's full of energy and will cause opposition real problems. He can be really strong and effective in the counter press. He's quick. He's high speed acceleration. He uses his body well. I think, Mark, my think for him, and he mostly played on the left for Yokohama last season. He really played in the centre for Yokohama last season.
What I said that too, Paul. I think that he's got to have been signed to play left back, really, hasn't he?
Because I'm looking at him, and I was looking at his stats, and I was looking at his thing. He reminds me of Laxell. Very weak tackler, Mark. Gives away silly free kicks.
Very good defender. Well, I mean, Mikey said Laxell played left midfielder, left wing all his career, and Celtic suddenly played him at left back. So
he started his career as a centre forward, and then he moved on to left wing. And then eventually he was moved on to kind of the left wing back role. Then he started going into the centre midfield role. So like he's more of a utility player, Mark. But I think if for me looking at that, like if Ange, like why would Ange sign two Japanese players, Mark, for a similar position?
that's what I was going to say. It seems awfully similar to Gucci, didn't he?
Yeah, so I think he's going to be on the left.
It'll either be on the left or it'll be him that'll be on the bench, whereas I'm saying it'll be Gucci that'll be on the bench.
I think Gucci was signed for a reason, Mark, that Ange clearly sees something in him in Japan that we haven't seen. Do you know what I mean? But I think
it must be. I mean, we've just got to trust Ange. I mean, that's what the way I'm kind of playing it. Because really, we don't really know much about any of the three of them. I'm not saying you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, we're just watching YouTube videos and reading up on them. We've not actually seen any of them really play many games or that. I think I've watched one of the games. But
how many players did we used? Taylor, Scales, Montgomery, Bolingoli, and not one of them really, Mark, has kind of claimed the left back position. They haven't really.
Well, Taylor claimed it enough to get a new deal.
Do you think though that was done, Mark, because of the lacking depth in the squad?
I think Ange thinks that Taylor is not just like a lot of us. He's not the greatest left back in the world, and he's never going to be. But he's a good, solid enough left back in the SPL kind of thing. So, I mean, guys like Bolingoli, the future at Celtic, we know that. Young Dane Murray, what's going to happen? Dane Murray into what's going to happen to him? Where's that pushing him back further out the picture and things like that? It's just
that's what you're saying, like because if you look on the right hand side, right, and I'm always raving about him, Mark, is how Rallison always gets above Abada. That Ralston seems to be our farthest ringer on the right-hand side. And it's always on the left. Yasser kind of seems to be on his own, that there's never kind of a runner above thing. And you're looking at Hayorti there, like he loves, that's his style of play. Like he loves getting forward. He loves getting up to support the attack. He loves getting in around space. I think he's going to be definitely on the left mark, and I can't see why, considering we have Beaton, Zorro, McCarthy, Gucci, why would he sign the fifth defensive midfielder, Mark? Do you get me?
It just seems, just saying, Paul, you just seem to be able to play in the same kind of positions.
But that's kind of
interesting to see.
You can notice on the Ange as well, Mark, isn't it, that he kind of signs players like Abada can play across the front three, Yasa can play across the front three, Kyogo can play across the front three, but he's best position is central. We know that. That seems to be kind of a similar.
But it's like saying Jota can play across the front three, but his best position's in the left. We shouldn't be buying guys that can play. Or we might play him in central midfield this week, but he can cover at left back next week. Shite like that, Paul. We should be buying the best to play in one position.
All the time during the game, aren't you? And for a player kind of, I said, like, for a player to kind of change his mindset for all the time, then for a different game, like if he's playing midfield one week and then he's playing left back another week, like, I mean, he's constantly changing the mind then how he thinks, like,
And if a player is if you've got a player that's supposedly, I mean, really, we're guessing it all. See these three signings, Paul, including Maida, we're actually guessing where they're going to play.
Do you know, I think and I was looking at it, Mark, where I can see Mida play. I think either Turnbull or Roger are in trouble.
Yeah, I think it's more. Just for what I've seen from him, Paul, I'd be more tending to play him out in the wide right. Because he's speed, just simply because he's speed. But as I say, it'll be interesting to see what Angie's actual first pick 11 is. I mean, you're saying about how do you pronounce that, Paul? He was what second name? Ayote. If you're playing him at
asking me. You're asking me.
If you're playing him at left back, but Ralston for Juranovic.
Exactly.
I don't know
if it's
I think Juranovic is probably the best left back at the club now, and it's not what we call his natural position.
This is what's going to happen now, Mark, is like Andrew's creating a selection problem for himself. Or maybe Ange, Mark, already saw within the squad who he needs to drop and why these players are coming in.
Well, one of the good things is it can be a bad thing as well if you've got too many of these type of players, but we've said before it's good to have players that can start. We kind of maybe just cost squad players, Paul, that can come in and fill in at different positions, but it's just that I mean, I'm maybe seems as if I'm putting a damper on and signing the three Japanese lads. That's not what I've been to do at all. It just seems, as we're saying, we can't turn around and say, all right, well, that's us, we've signed a left back. You know what I mean? Well, that's us, we've signed a new right winger or a right midfielder, whatever you want to call it. But actually, nobody's actually sure where these guys are going to fit into the team.
Yeah, because when you look at Mida, it just says attacker. In his stats, it says attacker. It doesn't say right, left, centre. It says attacker. Hayose says centre midfielder. All right, and Gucci Denmark his role is actually the role that I said he is a defensive midfielder. So the only one really that's signed for the position that he plays is Gucci.
Aye.
But my only concern, Mark, is signing the three lads, and I think Mida will be able to handle it, but the other two lads, Mark, my major concern is the physical side of the Scottish game.
Well,
You know,
according to transfer market, Paul, Maida's played 58 games as a centre forward, 55 games as a second striker, that's your number 10 kind of role, 44 games as a left winger, 4 as a right winger, so there my theory blew out the window.
So that's what I'm saying, Mark. That's what I'm saying. I think the two people that are going to be in trouble, Mark, is going to be either Turnbull or Roderick. You know,
Turnbull's out, sadly out for a couple of months, so we can kind of leave him out of the equation, you know. But I know a bit longer term, it's their positions that are under threat. I even noticed a few people, I don't know if it was on Twitter or Facebook or something, and they're saying that the plan's going to be to play Kyogo out in the left, with Mida through the middle. And I wouldn't, for that performance we've seen Kyogo out in the left, Paul, I wouldn't like to think Ange's going to go down that road at all.
I won't think Ange would go. I think Ange kind of saw that already himself, Mark. You know what I mean? I think he needs another player behind Kyogo, Mark, that's going to do the kind of similarity running as what Kyogo will do, because if they're near each other, Mark, the two of them are going to create space. Do you get me? Because one fella will be going one place, the other fella, they're going to drag the two centre defenders away from each other. So it's only going to create space. Do you get me?
They're creating space for the other one kind of job. I know what you mean.
And that's the key to Ange's system, Mark, is creating space. And I'm not dissing Turnbull or Roderick and stuff like that, but at times, Mark, they're too slow in running to make that space. Do you get me?
We will know Rogic isn't the quickest, there's no doubt about that, Paul. I think it's JFP that keeps saying it, if Rogic had pace, he wouldn't be at Celtic, he'd be at Barcelona or somebody like that.
You know, but it is like it's interesting, Mark, these three signings, and but my concern though is the physical side, Mark, of the two lads, Hayose and Aguchi. Like we saw Kyogo, he seems to be handling it fair enough, but he goes down as well, Mark, on the tackles as well. Can you see that maybe? Do you think maybe that's why maybe Gucci kind of wasn't fit for Leeds, Mark, but maybe the physical side got to him, or?
I think it was just a bit of even immaturity in his part in that, Paul. But I can remember the Leeds fans on their forum, they never did, even when it came up that Celtic were interested in him, obviously. They were they talk about they talk about anything that's Leeds related, and a few of them just came out and said, good luck to the lad if he does get his move to Celtic. It was just unlucky that it didn't work out for him at least, but nobody had a bad word to say about him. I don't think it was anything to do with effort or anything like that, Paul.
George is saying, personally, I think it's great that the likes of Turnbull and Roderick could be under threat, as we didn't have that luxury for a while. I think, Mark, that of all the players with Mida coming in, one of them will be in trouble, because I think Cal McGregor will be up in the forward just because of his passing, Mark. You know, Gucci is going to slot back into Beaton's thing, I think, and that's where I think Mida will slot in Denmark, maybe into Roderick's sort of thing. You know, Mark, he could rotate Kyogo and Mida as centre forward, you know, because
I've said to you before,
I'd like to see sister Mark, like, you know what I mean, like
playing like the Rogic kind of attacking midfielder position to see what he can do.
You know,
I just think I think that's awfully lightweight for a midfield, Paul. We've been going about how we're digging our midfield against Rangers and things like that over the last few seasons. There's not much digging in that midfield.
No,
you know I mean, there's no much muscle in there.
That's my main issue, Mark, is that you're lightweight, and if we are going to go with Gucci in big games against Rangers and even against Aberdeen, Mark, because Ferguson is a top midfielder as well, and he's physical as well. Like, and are they going to be able to handle the physical side of the Scottish game? You know?
Yeah, but that's what I mean, Paul, but that's not really their job. You get what? It's see if Gucci has been saying about defensive midfielder, we're going to get out muscled, Paul. That's it for me. We're going to get out muscled if you're going to a midfield three, Gucci, Galmac, and Rogic or Maida, whoever it is in that third position, Paul. That's very, very lightweight. But against not just your Rangers and Aberdeen, Paul, against a lot of these teams in Scotland, your Motherwells, your Livingstones, do you know what I mean? Where there's a couple of right hard men in there, hard tackling. You know what I mean? Sabine, we've still no got that covered. Like, well, I hope that McCarthy kind of claims it, but if you're talking about Gucci playing in there, I'd just worry about the actual physical presence. Most of the team in general, Paul, even putting it to that. We've not got a physical team.
And we kind of didn't, I think, Mark, when talking over the podcast the last couple of months, me and you and Terence has been on with us, Barry's been on with us, and Michael, that's one thing that kind of came up was we're very lightweight, you know? We're very, and is that maybe what Ange wants these players, Mark? He doesn't want these big physical players, you know?
Paul, every team needs them. We've spoken about it before. Even your Barcelona said a couple of guys in the team that big physical guys that didn't mind doing a bit of dirty work.
Yeah,
PK,
PK, Poyo. But is that when you have likes of Vickers there, so and maybe with Mida coming in, and because the high press will actually work more with Hayes and Kyogo.
Can you remember Guardiola playing?
Guardiola was one of the toughest.
You know what I mean? Aye. Plus he could play a bit. That's what we're needing, somebody like that in our team. Somebody can play a bit, but he's got that kind of bit of dig. Paul McStay would have been ideal, do you know what I mean? A cloney Paul McStay kind of thing. That just worries me that we're just going to be that kind of lightweight across the midfield again, Paul. That's cost us in the last couple of seasons, especially in the derby games.
Well, we've lost the midfield, Mark. You know what I mean? In the derby games, that's basically what won Rangers at derby games, because like Scott Arfield and Davis, 36 and 27 years of age, are controlling the game. Do you know what I mean?
That's it. They just out-muscled us, and if you're losing the midfield battle in these games, you're not going to win the game.
Going by the tree side, like I'm excited about them, like that we did our business early, and you there?
I'm there, Paul.
Oh yeah, no, I just ask you, like with the three signings, like are these three signings, Mark, that excite you, or is there some concern there about them because they're from the J League or anything like that?
I think it's maybe a bit of both, Paul. I'm excited about them, especially Maida, as I said earlier on. I'm really looking forward to seeing him play, but I have got my concerns just to actually where they're going to fit in, where the other two are going to fit into the team. I mean, Maida's going to, wherever he's going to be playing, he's going to be a starting member. He's going to be one.
That's it. I think I'm the same with you, Mark. Are
the other two going to be? I mean, I'm not writing them off. I hope I'm proved wrong in the two of them. They stake a claim, but I've just get my doubts on because of the questioning, just even the questioning where they're actually going to play, Paul. There's no clear sign of what their position is or anything like that.
No, and you look it up. You look up their stats, Mark. Like Hayerse he played mostly on the left, but in some games then he played through the centre. He played, you know what I mean? Like there was no kind of set positions there for him, you know. But the fella Dan Olsvich, Mark, he said that we have something special in Hayerse coming in. You know, that we have a special young talent in coming in. He said he said is raving about Mida coming in, and he said rightly so. But he said wait till Hayerse comes in, and you'll see the quality of passing that this fella can do. You know. You know, so
Just
moving on.
catching up with a live chat here, Paul.
Yeah, walk away, go on. Do you want to read them out?
No, I'm just catching up on what's been said. On you go.
Of course, with the transfer open, we're expecting some players to be leave. So the first Calci under the Ange era is young Owen Henderson, the 20-year-old, joined Hibs on loan until the end of the season. Owen's contract is up at the season. So my question is to yourselves in the live chat. Is it likely that Owen Henderson is played his last game, Mark, for Celtic against Real Betis? Or can you see maybe getting a new contract?
No,
21 years of age, Mark is.
No, I think that's him, Paul. I think he'll probably sign for Hibs in the summer, I reckon. Yeah, pardon me. He's going out there, Paul. He'll be playing games for Hibs. Get what I mean? He's not going to break into the Celtic team the way Celtics.
Especially Mark at 21 years of age. And if we're not kind of breaking into the Celtic team now, at that age, I don't think you're going to kind of break in there. And it's a pity because there's a player there, Mark. In fairness, until myself,
I like him. I think he's a good.
player,
I think he's actually better than his brother.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not going to get. I mean, we've spoken about it umpteen times, Paul, how hard it is for young players to break into the Celtic team. Ange's away out buying more midfielders. You just can't really see where he's going to have much future at Celtic. So
yeah,
probably
especially
better
now, Mark, with the signings we've done so far, like he's pushed down more down.
I mean, I'm saying I expect him to sign for Hibs, but I mean, he might shine at Hibs and get an offer for somewhere down in England or somewhere abroad. I mean, he's going to be a free agent in the summer, so who knows? He's got 6 months to show the world what he can do, kind of idea, Paul, and get a move somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Just as we came on the podcast, it was confirmed that Liam Shaw has signed for Motherwell to the end of the season. I think that's a good move for Liam, Mark, actually just to stay in the Scottish League as well with Motherwell and to get game time for Liam, because I like the look of him, Mark. You're on about a physical player, Mark, who we need. And Liam is a physical lad as well, you know.
You think he's got a future at Celtic, Paul? To be brutally honest, do you?
Honestly, no.
It's hard, isn't it? It's hard. You want to see all these young guys coming in and doing well for us, and then a lot of them's not even getting a sniff. I mean, you've spoken a few times about Luke O'Connell's agent saying that he's lost years of his career at Celtic and things like that. And you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear agents or young players coming out with that, because that can go against you when you're trying to sign young players. If they're like, wait, no, that Luke O'Connell, I've got his phone number. I'll give him a bell and see what it says about signing for Celtic.
But when we signed Liam Shaw, Mark, right, we signed him in July before Ange came in, right? So we were obviously scouting him for a long time, all right? And manager at the time was Lennon. I think Liam Shaw would have been more suited to a Neil Lennon team.
There's no more a kind of Tommy McIntyre that was staying the scout him and wanted to sign him.
Sign him, and he signed Ozada as well with him. But you think like that he would be more suited to a Neil Lennon team rather than an Ange team?
Is there anybody suited to a Neil Lennon team?
If he's playing up front. You know, it's a pity though, Mark, because like we were kind of having high hopes for him when we saw him, like, because we saw him in pre-season, we saw him in a few games against Real Betis.
He's never let himself down. I mean, that's the thing. These young players that have had their chance, Paul, you can't say that they've failed. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a sickener that some of their career they're not going to get a chance to build a career at Celtic, and they've never. A lot of them's never really. They're going to be leaving without even being gave the chance. Do you know what I mean? It's not as if they've come in and proven that they're not going to be good enough. They've come in and proved that there's something there in a couple of years. There might be. I mean, maybe we're reading it wrong, Paul.
So I mean,
Obviously,
like
no
Shaw
be
Mark is only
Henderson.
20, like he's only 20,
I
he's
mean,
still young, like yeah.
maybe it's just going to be part of like their progression. I mean, David Beckham would go to Preston on loan.
Like that's
Yeah,
what I thought, Mark. That's what I thought. Like my thinking of is like that. Maybe Ange wants him to stay in the Scottish League. To
well, it is, Paul. If you look about Europe and the bigger teams and that, that's what they kind of do. All these other young players maybe get 6 months or a year out on loan
Mhm.
before they become like first team squad regulars.
Yeah,
It
so
seems to be,
Callum Mack
but
went to Notts County, shot
aye,
back
aye, it's like it's
all those years back, didn't he?
maybe Ange is looking at it's a kind of modern way of the last so many years it's came in compared to years ago, but that's been kind of it's like the final year of your apprenticeship kind of idea. No, I
Mhm.
mean you're doing your 2 or 3 year apprenticeship, your final year, you go on loan to try and like get game time under your belt and toughen yourself up and that. I think
Christie then went to Aberdeen and he came back as a freaking free kick taker
aye,
for Rugby team. So he came back as, didn't he? And he got a goal. I actually jinxed him. He got a goal at the weekend for Bournemouth, his first goal.
I did. How far was he out? Was that a long range effort or was it a tap in?
Probably that goal. Probably don't. He probably took the goal kick. The keeper was injured. Probably. Um, Ozada Uhidi looks like to be going out alone as well, and could be joining up as Preston North End. Preston were also interested in signing Ozaza in July before he joined Celtic. Mark, it's no surprise for me that Ozaza wants to leave. I said this back months ago that his agent was talking about him, saying that he wasn't kind of getting in the team. He wasn't. He was in and out of the first team squad, and he was on the bench one week. He was out of the bench. I think Ozaza is going to leave. I really do, and the fact that he's going, that Preston are back in for him again for a loan deal. It's kind of saying like that they might come in for a bid for him at the end of the season as well.
It looks like it, doesn't it? Just the
You
same
know?
thing, Paul. They're just. I mean, I read what is it? We've got 35 first team squad players. And that's a ridiculous number, and considering we're still weak in certain positions as well. Do you know what I mean? So they're not all going to get games. But it's again, Paul. It's bad planning. What we've been going about with young players. Even if you,
Mhm.
you can have too many. I mean, people. Oh, you can't have too many youngsters, but you can have too many youngsters in your team because they're all looking to get their crack at the first team. You know what I mean? And all these youngsters, they're all dying. They all want to be playing football, and we've not even got a reserve league. That coach things. A lot of them aren't even eligible for the coach and that, and they know, Paul.
Mhm.
So it's difficult. It's a difficult one. As I say, hopefully it's just a case of we're learning and we're using this kind of loan system to progress with players on rather than just pulling them out without even getting a chance. Because I guarantee you, at least one of them will come back and will be like, that's a bit of, you know what I mean? That's a bit of a mistake letting him go.
Mhm. I think it is, Mark, because uh, you're on about, and the lads in the live chat and yourself are saying as well, like saying that we're missing kind of physical players, and there you have two physical young players who maybe will benefit from a loan spell. I wouldn't like it to be thinking that your Celtic careers are over before it got started. You know what I mean? You know,
No, because see things like that happen, Paul. Again, for me,
it's bad. It looks bad in Celtic. Then again, Mark, don't
but
it?
not even that, Paul. But then you've got to look at, well, why did we sign him in the first place?
Mhm.
You get what I mean? You've got to look at the systems that you're scouting in. Well, why did we sign so many of these young guys and they're all we're needing to get rid of them because they're never going to be good enough for Celtic. So who decided to sign them at the time?
Mhm. That's it. Like this, but that's going back to a problem, Mark, that we spoke about months ago, and lads in the live chat spoke about it. They spoke about on Discord. They spoke about for is a director of football. You know that there's no structure within the scouting sit. Like we don't even have a head of
No,
recruitment, Mark. You know what I mean?
spoke about this in
You
the
know.
last podcast, Paul.
Mm,
The team's playing well. We're all excited with the new signings. We're spending money. We're trying to get Carter Vickers in that. But off field, Paul, the same old problems are still there. There's still no heated recruitment, there's still no director of football. As I said, if Ange walked out the Mora, what position would Celtic be in? If Ange leaves at the end of the season, what position is Celtic going to be in?
You know, I was just thinking of that today, and I actually made myself laugh. If Ange left and a new manager came in, we just say a manager like Neil Lennon, Mark, who likes
Davy
these physical
Moyes.
players.
Imagine Davy Moyes coming in.
Like that likes physical players, Mark, big players, you know. And he's walking down the line like Police Academy, and he comes across these Japanese folks, and he goes, "Who are these fellas?" Do you remember that in Police Academy?
Aye. It's still the same problems that are behind the scenes. Where's the long-term planning? What's the vision for the next 5 years instead of what's the vision for the next 6 months?
Yeah, it's just at the moment it's kind of is there too much trust, Mark, or are we leaning too much on Ange to have too much control of the club? Do you think?
I think we're leaning on him too much. I definitely do. I mean, I think he's loving having that kind of power to run basically everything. But it's all right in the short term, Paul. But we've seen where that can end up in the longer term. You know what I mean? It's all right. I keep saying to you, chatting that it's like putting all your eggs in the Ange basket. But what happens when Ange isn't there? It's just there's nothing then. If we can't, we shouldn't be able to constantly going to Ange and asking him to recommend players. Ange should have a say in who we sign. I'm not meaning that way and things like that. But there should be other people working behind the scenes to bring players to Ange and say, "We said we need a left back. You think you need one of these? We've got these 3 choices or these 5 choices. What do you think?" Things like that, but we shouldn't be keeping going to them. No other club does it, Paul. How many times did Chelsea lost their manager? Chop and change their manager.
Same structure was there.
It's what's going on behind the scenes just keeps the club at the top level.
Same structure was there. Like it's true what Bobby's saying here, but he put a smiley face after, but it's actually true. Ange at the moment, Mark, is our manager, director of football, and head of recruitment.
That's it, exactly. He really is.
You know?
And I've said it to you, Paul. Why know in 2 or 3 years' time see if Ange fancies a director of football role? You know what I mean?
That'd be ideal, Mark, wouldn't it? That would be ideal, Mark. Yeah, that would be ideal. Like if Ange stayed here, we say for 4 years, and then decide then, right, I love this club so much, I'm going to stay, but I'm going to go in as a director. Like that's ideal. Like that's planning.
He's not a young coach either. Do you know what I mean? So
no.
It just says a few years' time, why not see if he fancies it? But
you know,
see while he's doing all this other work, Paul, he's not doing his main job, which is coaching the team and training the team and things like that.
And we said that, Mark. Like I said that to you when with Terence was on with us, and I said that to you, Mark. Instead of Ange being on he's going to be on the training pitch, but he's not going to be there as much as he wants because he's going to be negotiating these players with the likes of Nicholson and the board as well. Like, you know, setting out these targets for them. Like, you know what I mean?
He's in basically doing like the head scouts job and the head recruitment job and trying to sell the players to the club while trying to get the players in as well. And I know, well, obviously John Kennedy will be keeping things ticking on the training ground to the highest possible standards.
Get us started there. Don't be saying that to me, will you?
I mean, it sounds as if I'm a moaning get because I keep going on about it, but it's something that's got to be addressed, and we'll probably get into even more detail when we start talking about Nicholson. So let's just see how it goes. But it's definitely something that needs addressed.
I was reading up there on the Celtic thing, and a lot of people have been praising McManus coaching.
I'm here. I'm just going to say, he'll be getting the blame of the next free kick. He'll be the next quote unquote defensive coach that gets the blame of the stuff.
So he'd be the next time he concede a free kick. Yeah, he'd be the next defensive coach. So one question mark I have for you, and I have for the live chat is like signing Gucci. We have on our books. We have Gucci, Beaton, McCarthy, and Zorro.
I
Our
think
defensive
Soro, I think
midfielders,
Soro
mark.
could be away as well,
Is
Paul.
Zorro the one back now that you think is he the one that maybe he'll go out with loan, or will he leave in January? Do you think, or will it be the end of the season? Because
I think
Mark, if you had 4 on your books till the end of the season, that's a lot of money you're paying for 4 players for one position.
I'm not getting anywhere near the team, maybe. I think Soro will be away, maybe in loan this window where maybe, I don't know, a loan to buy or something like that, or just even a
What
loan.
happened? What happened with Zorro? Like did last season, were we just so bad last season that Zorro looked good? Or
I just think, Paul, he just needed to calm down a bit. That was all I think it was actually wrong with him. He was a good
he
wee
was
player.
card away to send off every game, wasn't he?
Sorry, Paul.
He was a red card away in every game, like a
Aye.
tackle
That's what
card.
I mean. He just needed to kind of calm down. But I mean, I thought he was good enough wee player. His reading of the game was good. He seemed to have that kind
He's
of.
fast. Like if you look at it, if you look at the players that are there at the moment, like not Gucci because he just come in. If you look at Beast and McCarthy, you think Zorro will be the one most suited to Ange's style of play because he's fast and because he moves the
Aye.
ball fast. Run with the ball, wouldn't you?
Aye. I mean, I can't fault his actual football performances, Paul, but it was just his temperament. He just seemed to run about constantly like a headless chicken, and as you say, he was just one. What European game was it that he get booked after just a few minutes? But in fair play to him, he walked the tightrope and never put another foot wrong, really. So that's like, he has got it in him to play. Do you know what I mean?
Your game then, don't they? Do you know what I
Aye,
mean?
but
That affects your game. Then if you get a yellow card, like in a game, like as I remember a game, Denmark, he was a yellow card, and he must have got about 6 warnings off the referee, like, and was eventually like, calm down, no, you're off. Do
aye,
you know what I mean?
that's
Like,
all it is. You just need to
can't
seem to
be saying like
calm his
that every
emotions and.
game. Mark.
But I don't see. I really don't see if he's get much. He'll have much future at Celtic now. Just. I mean, I think he's a player that could go in and play at a better level. Aye, probably a higher level in Scottish football if he can rein himself in a bit.
Um, I know I spoke about players leaving a lot, Mark, and we spoke about these 3 players potentially leaving. I have Barkas, Bolingoli, a Yesi. If we can get rid of a Yesi, because I know he's injured now. So I don't know if we can get rid of him. Is there any more, Mark, you think? Or is it going to be more of our young players kind of leaving during this transfer window, do you think?
Well, I think Barkas will be getting out probably on loan. Yeah, as you say, he's injured. It'll be hard for Push to get. When's he due back, Paul? He's went for quite a while yet.
I looked up on it. There's no update, Mark.
I
No.
don't think he'll leave it during this window.
It's a tear. He had a tear in the hamstring, like, so I say could be out till.
I'm trying to. I mean, there I've just said we'll get 35 first team players and I can't think anybody off the top of my head now.
You know, like,
The likes of Barkas, there we said Sorrow. Just guys that do you know they've just not got any real future at the club, really? Do you know what I mean? But I'd have actually beat on in that division, Paul, as well to the last few weeks or so. You know what I mean? Because the centre back experiment. Just I don't know why people persist with it. I mean, even Ange done it, but as soon as Ange moved him into central midfield, I mean, it was like a different player. That's the player we knew that Beaton could have been that player for us for the last few years, except the likes of Rodgers and Lennon seemed to disregard him as a centre back, a backup centre back.
Now, is there any other players, Mark, you expect us to come in? I know we're linked with the Boyle from Hibs, maybe around the 3 million. Would he be a player you'd be interested in Celtic signing, or do you think that there's other positions that we need to strengthen, rather, because it all seems to be attack rather than in defence?
I'd like to see probably bring in, see, like a young striker. I would like us to bring in a young striker that's, we've spoken about, like a bit of physical presence about him up front. because we're not, I mean, we thought Jacko was going to do it and we're hoping it shows us what he can actually do, but we've still not got that option of putting somebody like that up front. It's going to kind of, he's a big old fashioned centre forward kind of thing, attacking headers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's easy enough to say, oh, we need to get new players in, but if Julian's due back, so do we need another centre back, really?
Because you look at now, Mark, right? You look at our keepers, right? So at the moment we have Hart, Bain, Hazard, Barkas, and young lad. I'm going to put young lad Toby in there as well, all right? Because he's in the first thing. Right back, we're going to have Ivanovic and Radisson. We have Julian, Vickers, Starfelt, and Welch. Left we have at the moment Bolingoli, Taylor, Montgomery, Scales, Hoyese. Do you know what I mean? That position alone is too crowded, Mark. That left back position. You know,
we've got an abundance of them now, really, haven't we? And it's been
like,
and it's still for me, Paul. It's still a problem position, really.
yeah.
I mean,
The big thing now with that, Mark, is has Ange signed Hoyokshi for that position?
well, that's what I thought it was, Paul. That's honestly what I was thinking. Because I mean, we've all got our A&B kind of not even favourites. Just I mean, I'd still stick up for Taylor. I think he's decent enough, but Shaw, I'd like to see Shaw getting a few games under his belt, see we can doing really well for Celtic and things like that. But we've not actually nobody can agree on who we should have as left back. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got their own Shaw because we this and Scales because of this.
Scales has done well, Mark, since he came in there. He has, like, in fairness, and he's given that physical presence, Mark, that we don't have.
But we've just not actually put in that's what I'm saying. But Paul Scales has done well. We want to see him doing well. I like Taylor. Other folk will not like Taylor. Nobody can agree on who should be Celtic's first choice left back at this minute in time, really, can they?
And I think looking at all of them, Mark,
Juranovic has been our best left back. He's been our best left back of the season, and maybe that's maybe Ange is thinking that he's going to just play him at left back. Because unless Ralston gets injured or banned or whatever, I don't see Ralston ever getting phoned. I mean, you have bad games, every player does, but I don't ever see Ralston phoned back into that rut of being that player, Paul, that nobody rated and nobody we all wrote off. I just don't see him being as bad as that ever again.
I came across a post, let's go back a couple of weeks back now, Mark, saying that they're not going to judge Radisson until next season because maybe he was just a one-hit wonder this season. And I stayed out of the conversation. The reason because I stayed out of it is because I'm the same as you. I cannot see Radisson letting the standards down that he did this season, considering the social media abuse he probably saw, Mark. He saw things written on the papers that he wasn't good enough. He finally gets his chance and he's shown Celtic fans what he can actually do. I can never see Radisson drop his standards, Mark, going forward.
No, I totally agree with you, Paul. As I say, you'll have bad games and you'll make mistakes, and every player does. Every player does. Do you know what I mean?
A young footballer. It is like when I was growing up and you were growing up, like we had none of this social media, so the young players, like if a young player made a mistake in the game, Mark, and if his team won, they're not going to write about that mistake. Do you get me? They're going to write about the goal.
Aye. Years ago, Paul, if a young player made a mistake, you get a bit of abuse probably at the game, and then but it just be folk on the bus on the way home saying, "Oh, what do you think of him? What do you think?" But nowadays it's straight onto social media. And it's just I've said it before, Paul.
And it's tagging the player then as well themselves, Mark. It's tagging the player then, and
just as vile. Do you know what I mean? It's just the way that social media is, just because of the access that people have got to these kind of not just players, any kind of whatever kind of celebrity status is open for abuse, and it's just these guys have got kids and they've got families and girlfriends. There's no need to abuse a player outside the ground. Do you know what I mean? See, during the game, everybody caught on the heat of the moment, shouts, "Oh, you're shite" or whatever to a player or that. But in the long term, it's just a lot of garbage, really, the way it goes on in the modern world, Paul, for me.
Yeah, it is.
There's no need for it.
No need for it, exactly. Moving on from the players, I still expect. What would you expect, Mark? Are we done and dusted the transfer window, or are you expecting maybe another one or two signings to come in, or is there any legs to Boyle coming in, Mark? Or is a lot of speculation, or?
That's been a few years at Celtic have been trying to get Boyle in the door. It started, just before Lennon, the window before Lennon left Hibs.
Mm-hmm.
I think then Hibs wanted something like 3 or 3.5 million for him. And, would that be before or after the McGinn thing? Because there was something tied in a bit of the bad blood when kind of mixed
Lowell and their chairman that time, weren't they? Yeah.
I don't know if it was before or after that. My memory's not that clear about it, but I don't know. It's just for me, Paul is just another squad player. That's all
Exactly.
he's going to be.
Look at what we've signed now, Mark. Like you're looking at the players we signed now, like we have.
Well, could Rio no cover Jota up my left wing position? Hayati.
Oh yes, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Mikey Johnson. The last few games Mikey Johnson's played, I don't think Mikey Johnson. I'd love to see him getting a goal because he just seems to.
That's his problem, Mark.
I think he's sometimes trying too hard. But I'd like to see Mikey Johnson get a goal because people just write him off for no reason, and he's the current whipping boy. But at least give him a run of.
I think a loan move for Mickey Johnson would be good this season, and go out and loan till the end of the season, and stay fit, and get first in football.
I would agree with you there, Paul. That would be a good idea, really. Get Mickey Johnson.
That'd be a good move for him, Mark, because the minute Yarsa's going to be fit, Johnson's going to be out in the cold again, and you know that for a fact.
And maybe he's still going. It's a kind of point. He needs to be playing. I think, Paul, even just for his confidence.
Yeah, exactly. Just to guess.
At least
half season under his belt, injury free, would do him good. I think,
Send him to Hibs. Send him to Hibs from Maloney. Send him to Hibs on loan as part of a deal for Boyle.
Hibs are going to come Celtic's core team. I said this stage.
But I don't know. Boyle, he's not going to. He's what I've said before about some of
That's what I'm saying, Mark.
He's an SPFL level player.
Is he better than James Forrest?
No.
See, and
is he more consistent? Is he more consistent and fitter than James Forrest? But is he more reliable? You know that he's going to be there and fit. I mean, Forrest. I don't see Forrest having much a long-term future at Celtic unless it's just a squad player, Paul.
Mm-hmm. We spoke just one thing I saw the lads putting up there, Mark, was, and it's actually just made me think about it there when we were talking about Boyle, is Abada and how actually good he was in the last couple of games, Mark, through the middle. Abada, could that maybe actually be his best position there, Mark?
Well, one of the things, Paul, what I think we spoke about it, I don't know if it was on the forum or on here before, but seemed to get that wee bit of speed back, Paul, that he kind of lost.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he was playing maybe not fully fit, I don't know, but he seems to have gained that burst of speed that we saw when he first came in. So I don't know whether it was just because he was playing through the middle, or because he was spit it out, because he was just that bit like sharper. Do you know what I mean? But he really did look good playing through the middle. But
there's a talent there, Mark, and you can't.
There's not really any question his talent. He just did a couple. Well, I mean, he came on and when he first came in, he was on fire, wasn't he? And then he got injured, and then did he catch COVID as well or something, Paul?
Yeah, I think he did, Mark. I think, as far as I know, I think he did. catch COVID
So
as well that time.
maybe that is just him back to the fitness and sharpness levels that we saw when he first came in, because it was night and day for what we'd seen from him, Paul. I'd be no slagging him
We
off.
were excited about Mark when we like this is before even before Arsenal came in, and like when you're reading up on like even with these lads there, Mark, like with Hayose and with Gucci, like I'm reading reports, like, but these are reports I'm reading from analysts in Japan. Do you know what I mean? People who watch them week in and week out, and we read similar reports with Yota, and it turned out quite the opposite with Yota, didn't it? You know,
There's a lot of like negative reports about Yota.
that his crossing was poor and he gives away the ball a lot, but like Yota was a bit of fresh air when he came in. You know what I mean? And
he did have a wee bit. He wasn't exactly setting the head on fire, but for me, Paul, at the start, it was more Abada, I thought.
Yeah,
I was more excited with Abada than Yota. But Yota showed his class in Abada. As I said, he had a wee lull, but I mean, he's only just turned 20, Paul. He's only a young lad. No,
do you think maybe, and I just throwing out there, Mark, that maybe that could have affected him, that when Yota came in and the left hand side started doing very well then, and all our play, because I said to you since Yota came in, all our play has been shifted to the left. You said that as well. Everything shifted to the left. Do you think that maybe that affected Abada's game then, Mark? Maybe, and when he was through the centre, he was actually receiving more of the ball.
Well, maybe that. I mean, if everything's going down the left hand side, Abada can't do much stuck out in the right hand side. You know, I mean,
how many times, Mark, I saw Abada free out on the right hand side, and we seem to be still going down the left.
I still think, Paul, we seem to rely going down the left hand side too much.
Yeah, without doubt.
And even that's even when Yota wasn't in the team, Paul, we noticed that. I don't know what reasoning there is in that. It's just a lot of the time we seem to spend on that left hand side of the park.
Because John Kennedy was probably showing him stats from last season, like anytime we gave Christie the ball here, now Christie shot from there, and they were probably trying the same thing, listening to John Kennedy and his tactics, probably. You know. Moving on, credit where credit is due. So with all the criticism the Celtic board and Michael Nicholson have been receiving recently, and some rightly so, so we must give credit to where credit's due. Getting 3 deals done early in the early hours of the transfer window. And recently spoke highly of Nicholson and said back in November about the J League, and that he already has his targets discussed with Nicholson, and Nicholson delivered on his word. Mark, I suppose, look, he's been owning the job a couple of months. He was officially CEO 2 weeks ago, but he did what Ange wanted him to do. He got 3 deals down the line. I couldn't see Peter Law getting 3 permanent deals down the line in a January transfer window, Mark, could you?
There's no permanent, are they? Maeda's only a loan now.
Maeda's a loan, but do you know why that is?
Just, well, he's a wife and a young family, Paul.
Yeah,
they don't settle.
If they can't settle, because I was reading about it, and there was actually a player got a similar deal over in Germany, that he bring his family over for the last 3 months of the deal, and if they can't settle in Germany, that he's able to go back to Japan, and it's supposed to be actually quite common, Mark, in the J League, that they do that.
Well, wouldn't surprise me, Paul. It's a big, I mean, there's some culture shock for them, isn't it, coming from Japan to Scotland? Especially it's a culture shock. It's a culture shock coming from the Bronx to Scotland.
Going into meet a Kyogo and going into a takeaway oven thing and asking for sweet and sour, dosed in salt and vinegar.
Aye, salt or sauce on it.
Yeah, it's salt and pepper chicken.
Especially young kids in that as well. Do you know what I mean? It's you can see why they will do things like that. Probably the player that's asked for it, to be honest, Paul, because he's not what again, we've spoke about it, the way the Japanese, the total outlook on life, they're not going to...
Did you know he played in Portugal before he signed for Yokohama?
Say
He
that
was in the
again.
Portugal league. He was actually played in Portugal before Ange signed him for Yokohama. He was in the second division in Portugal.
Oh, I didn't know that,
Mida.
Paul.
Yeah, he was actually played in Portugal in the second division, and at the time he was only kind of recently married, and he just couldn't settle, Mark, and Ange brought him back to. But the great thing about Mida and coming to Celtic, Mark, is Ange, because when I was reading about him, he says in his post to Yokohama, he said, "I'm going back to the boss. I'm going back to work with the
Aye.
boss." You know what I mean? So this just shows how respected Ange Postecoglou is, Mark, in Japan, isn't it? You know
I don't think
how
there's
highly
any. I
regarded
don't
he
think
is,
there's
like, you know.
any doubt about that, Paul.
Yeah.
For the minute he was linked with the job and we started looking into him. I mean, we keep saying it. I'm totally delighted we've got Ange, and I'm so gladder, is that a word, that we didn't have that we got Ange rather than Eddie Howe. I just thought
Yeah, she look at
we certainly dodged a bullet there with Eddie Howe, Paul. We've won
the state.
a
The biggest
watch with
puzzle,
Ange.
though, Mark, for me is with Ange, and I've said it to you numerous of times. I said the podcast, like, if we're led to believe now with the AGM, it was Peace Law got the credit for getting Ange. That Ange was always on the radar.
Well, see if that's the case then, Paul. Why
Why didn't we get him after Brendan Rodgers?
no,
Yeah.
no, why did we not get him after Neil Lennon? I mean, I've said it before, Paul. I've no problem whatsoever with appointing Neil Lennon as a caretaker manager.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah, why didn't we get him?
So why not get
Time, like the transition, then get him in then, Mark, when Neil Lennon's interim manager job is up. Do you get me? You know,
aye.
it would have been the best time, Mark.
And
Like
plus as
he
well,
had.
but when Dominic Mackay says it was him that didn't come out and say it, but he knew Ange for his time in Japan and stuff like that, so I think it's just a wee bit of politics, Paul, who's trying to kind of claim you get what I mean, the credit for the appointment to Ange because it's gone so well. I mean, would Peter Lowell come out, or his lackeys have come out with these stories if we were sitting fourth in the league, 22 points behind Rangers? These stories about how Peter Lowell had them on the radar and all that, would they have come out then?
Yeah, exactly,
I doubt it.
exactly. But go back to Nicholson, Mark. He got the 3 deals done. He got the 3 targets that Ange gave him back in November. It was good business, do you think?
Oh, great business, I think, Paul. It's not even cost us that much. Do you know what I mean?
No, it is the market, Mark. I think Ange has opened up for Celtic.
I mean, that journalist we were talking about earlier on, he says he can't believe it. That it's kind of well accepted there in Japan. Basically, we've kind of robbed these players because of the money that we've paid for them.
Do you know what it is, Mark? And when I was looking at the Twitter about him, like, the Yokohama fans are actually cheering the Mida for leaving them, for going on to bigger things. Do you know what I mean? Like when we see a big player here leaving for Celtic, like we got a good riddance to, like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, but we don't really, Paul. I mean, look at KT. I mean, I don't think there's any Celtic.
Edward, you have a difference in Edward.
But guys like KT,
who didn't get his pay and he don't
even
work for us. Do you get me? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, different culture, Mark. Like, you know.
No,
But
you've said it's different culture. It's so like respect. I mean, I've seen. I didn't expect any talks or anything. Was it the 4th of December was the cut off, because the way they run things in Japan, it's like it's no honour. It's dishonourable to like do sneaky talks behind your club's back while you're still playing for them and things like that. Without it's a totally different life, Paul. Something we'll probably, any of us will probably ever be able to understand, but I mean, it seems to work well for them. And As I says, we've booed ex-players. I mean, even Henrik Larsson, the Celtic fans booed him when he scored against us with Barcelona and things like that. But I
No,
feel the
I know.
Japanese, it's just a
And even
totally
even
different
through that young
culture.
lad there, Mark, Oxlade Flex,
Aye,
when
aye.
he scored for West Ham against us, like, you know what I mean, would you blame that young lad for leaving Celtic at the time to go and trying to better his career, seeing as how much of a shambles our academy has been for years? And then we have Celtic fans booing him, you know?
I could just that's what it is again. Just another young player that wasn't getting any game time, so I had to go looking for it.
So we get this now, Mark, right? Nicholson's our new CEO. Now, I get it, fair enough. This year is all about getting Ange the first team that he needs and the folks in the first team. And I think it's crucial that Celtic win the league this season with the prize money and getting the group stage of the Champions League. Are the board giving Ange their full backing? And
I don't think it's.
there's a relation. Is there a good relationship between Ange and the board? Do you think?
Well, I probably think Paul maybe still in a bit of honeymoon period. But
Mm-hmm.
I will look at the money that they've backed to me, Paul, for the summer and even in this window. And I still think there'll be more signings to come, whether that's like say Boyle or
Well, Mark, this this spending was needed or wanted. Like we said that going back in the summer. Like this is going to be a rebuild that we haven't seen, Mark, for a long, long time at Celtic. Like, you know, and the money needed to be spent. And fair enough that the board seemed to be spending it. They seem to be buying players rather than kind of loaning players as well, Mark. Like not a quick fix like John Joe Kenny and Laxell and buying players who aren't good enough to come into the first team.
no,
You know.
no. I've said it a million times, Paul. For me, you build your team and see if you're bringing in players on and loan. It's got to be something a bit special that you maybe couldn't afford otherwise. I know Carlton Vickers. I'm talking about the ideal world. Do you know what I mean? There's still a lot of ifs and buts, but for me, ideally, you're bringing in your like say Robbie Keane, Craig Bellamy,
Mhm.
players that you couldn't
Bellamy.
otherwise bring in.
Proven players, Mark, that come in and they'll do a job for you.
That for me,
You
that
know.
should be what you're kind of doing with loans. I'm not. I know we've done it with Carter Vickers, we've done it with Yoa, but I said at the time I'm not a big fan of doing that with like younger players. Just we'll see if they're good enough because if they're not good enough, that you're left with them for a year unless you punt them back down to their parent club and
Who was
they're
it, Mark?
just
What
hanging
I'm trying to
about.
think of it. I'm trying to think of a player who was similar to that. We got him in loan and it kind of never walked out. He was kind of always on the bench, and it was only recently. Was it the
Shane,
fella Weir? Was it?
Timo Weir, him,
Yeah,
Shane
yeah,
Duffy.
that
Look at Shane Duffy.
Shane. Yeah, well,
I know that's not a young player, but look at, I mean, that was a.
everyone thought, Mark, when we signed Duffy, freaking, it was one of the best kind of business Celtic were doing at the time, though, didn't we? You know.
Oh, definitely. And God knew what was going on, and then my
Yeah,
son did, and my
Masuda,
son
Mark,
did for
Masuda,
my son did
Masuda, yeah,
for
Masuda. Remember him, Masuda?
Chelsea went to we got him.
Yeah, he was always like he was that's a prime example, Mark Masuda. You know, knowing the player who never walked out. Like there we are then caught with a wage. That's not.
That was
Still
just another ego, Paul. A
you
young player with a massive ego.
know, just his career's finished now, isn't this?
I don't even know where he is. He's 2 seconds.
No, Chelsea left him go. It was a free transfer there. They left him go. He has no club at the moment. As far as I know. But what else now, Mark, would you like to see of Nicholson coming in? Like, do you think he's going to have much of an influence, or is he still going to kind of be over like Terence? I said it with Terence and yourself. Like, I think Banker has a more kind of a senior role now within the board, or do you think Nixon's going to be overshadowed by them, or do you think he'll be able to come his own man?
I don't know, Paul. To be honest, we've spoken about that before with Banker, but if Bankier, well, why would Nicholson take like a lesser kind of power position that Peter Lowell had? If I'm the CEO, then I'm the CEO. Look what we've done under
Yes.
Peter. I'd like to think it's Nicholson that's actually
The thing
talking
about
behind the
Nicholson,
scenes.
Mark, I like
A
he's
bit,
young.
is he a bit of a quiet assassin, maybe, Paul?
Could be, Mark. I kind of getting that because that's what I was kind of
Do you know what I mean?
getting at him. Like,
For
these
God's
two
sake,
transfers,
why have we not
like,
heard?
like,
Why have we not even heard of this? We've not even heard from him. Do you know what I mean? Why he's never come out and
but
said then?
I go back to
But that's a good CEO, Paul. That's a good
Mark. I go
CEO.
back, yeah, and I just want to go back to a point you said with the last season with the boy and Peter Lawal had to come out, and you said, why does the Celtic CEO have to come out and apologise? You know,
Aye.
you know, why do you want Peter Lawal to come out and make a statement? Like, the CEO kind of runs the club, Mark. You know what I mean? It's the manager is really the front of the club, isn't this? You know what I mean? We don't want
That should be. I mean, don't get us wrong. See, when you make a signing, it should be a pit. The press
pictures
conferences should
of
be
him there.
the
Yeah.
CEO, the manager, and the player. And that's what. I mean, I've said it to you before, but we shouldn't need to be on here talking about the CEO and things like that.
It's just the problems, Mark. Like, and we're constantly seeing it. Like the biggest problem for me at the moment, Mark, is the scouting. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know we have our scouts, Mark, and we all have things like, but there's no head of scouting, like, and there's no head of a scouting out, Mark, going on nearly a year. You know, we're coming into the summer. We're going to be coming into summer soon, Mark, and we've no head of.
That's what I mean. Are we going to dip into the Ange basket again? And I don't mean this in a racist way, but how many more Japanese players can Ange recommend? Do you get what I mean? I'm not saying that's the only players that Ange knows is in Japan, but they're definitely the four players that have come in Japan are obviously Ange signings, because that's nothing to do with your scouting, really nothing to do with it. But so where are these players where are these other players? Are we waiting on clubs getting in touch with us to see if we're interested in their players, Paul? I mean, Carter Vickers.
Because I don't think Nicholson has the brain or would even do a thing like Peter Law would do, Mark, and just go out and sign players. I get the impression that Nicholson won't be that kind of CEO. You know, go out and sign
I wouldn't like
just
to
for the
think
sake
so.
of it. I wouldn't think he'd be like that because he doesn't have the football knowledge for that, Mark. I don't think. You know,
and he's probably not get the years of experience of dealing with footballers like Lowell did. That's why Peter Lowell thought he could do that, Paul, because for years he was doing it. Do you know what I mean? It was for years Peter Lowell was right there in the heart of the scouting between him and John Park. But when John Park left, the football knowledge left the room with John Park, and then it was just down to Lowell's own personal opinion. Obviously, ask people and then decide for himself anyway. I can't see Nicholson. I don't see Nicholson being the type of person. Peter Lowell liked to court. You get what I mean? He liked to be the main man at Celtic. He spoke about Celtic. No, I don't think Nicholson wants that.
like
He
in the shadows kind of thing.
I don't think Nicholson's looking to become a big celebrity. A big celebrity out of doing this kind of job. I think that's maybe a difference between him and Lowell. But they're like kind of how they even perceive themselves. I mean, Lowell was a bit arrogant, I suppose, and always liked to be the centre of the attention. And he spoke about Celtic, he spoke about Peter Lowell. I think Nicholson would prefer, if you speak about Celtic, you're speaking about the team or the manager, rather than what's Nicholson up to, what's Nicholson doing, why is he not doing this, why is he, do you know what I mean?
Moving on, of course, the winter break is still going on at the moment. As we spoke earlier, that Celtic's new signings have extra time to bed into the first team and work in their fitness, get used to their new teammates. One thing, Mark, is the lad Hayete actually at Celtic yet, or is he not in Scotland yet?
I've not seen any pictures of him, Paul. Have you?
No, I don't think he's there yet. That's why I put down that looking ahead to the Hibs game, Next game, Mark, is Monday night, Monday week. It's the 17th. It's the 17th, isn't it? Yeah, the 17th. Is the
Aye.
is the Hibs game.
Aye.
Do you think we're going to see Mida, Gucci, and maybe Rio coming in? Like we saw with Marcus coming in, we saw how Ange said that he wasn't up to his fitness. Do you think lads Mida, Rita, and Gucci will be up to Ange's fitness, Mark, considering they had a long season?
I don't think there's many doubt about that, Paul, fitness wise, and that I wouldn't question much about their fitness.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be still well conditioned. There maybe no play as many games as we'd expect him to if they signed in the summer for the next few months. Do you know what I mean? Because of the season they've had, but I don't think all of them will start against Hibs. I really don't. I'll be totally amazed, honestly, Paul, if the four Japanese lads start against Hibs.
Would you think Mida would start?
I think he will.
I think Mida will start.
I think the other two maybe. I think Kyogo will start as well. But out of the three new signs, I think the only stick on will be Maeda.
And is there any update on injuries, Mark? The likes of do we have any timeline on Yata? Do we have any timeline?
I've not seen anything. I've not seen anything recently, Paul.
I think nothing serious. There was kind of a more precaution for Kyogo coming off last game, wasn't it?
It's just he wasn't fully fit. Probably shouldn't have started the game, to be honest, Paul, for what I've heard and read. So it was more a precaution that he get took off.
Marcus looks to be he will be up and running as well, Mark, by the time the Hibs game comes around. Another thing we haven't heard of yet is really the extent of Joe Hart's injury, Mark. Is it COVID or is it an injury? We kind of heard nothing.
No, again, Paul, it's very quiet about what it is with Joe Hart. I'm assuming, Paul, that it's been COVID related because, well, I can't mind him getting a knock during a game or anything like that. Can you?
No. And he did, Mark. Do you remember the tackle from the corner? Remember he shouldered that time in the game at the start of the game. Remember when it was a red card.
Did he not play after that?
No, that he played that game, but then it was the next game. Then he wasn't in, though, wasn't it? Was that?
Oh, I don't know, Paul.
But I'm just thinking back.
If it was, why not just come out and say? Do you know what I mean? It's a bit weird, isn't it? I'm just assuming that it's COVID because that's personal data protection and that the club
can't really say it. Yeah, exactly.
If the player tells them not to release it, they're not allowed to release it, kind of thing. I just assume it's something to do with COVID, Paul.
And what about Yata, Mark? Do we have anything in him? Is he nearing?
It's just honestly, it just seems that there's not been any kind of update. I've not even seen much on Twitter. People talking about gossip about when players have been back or that. I think everybody's just kind of assuming that once we get back to playing games, that everybody's going to be fit. Well, I think that's kind of the way everybody's kind of assuming or planning things. And Ange doesn't give much away, really, when you ask him questions about injuries and stuff like that.
And it seems to kind of positive news, Mark, on Julian as well coming back. You know?
Not holding my breath in that, Paul. Many times have I heard that. I'm
the same as you, Mark. I'm the same as you. I'd be very surprised if I see Julian,
that's us into 2022, Paul, January 2022, and what I was meant to, Julian was meant to be back when the end of October, beginning November. And then it was pushed back a couple of weeks, and it's pushed back a couple of weeks. So I'll just play that weird and see where we're in a few weeks if he is actually back and fit. Hopefully he is, because he's better in the squad than out the squad. But I don't know if he'll get much of. Do you think Ange would drop Starfelt for him?
No, well, I wouldn't. Not with the partnership, Mark, at the moment, the way the lads are playing. I know Starfelt's been a bit rocky in the thing, but I think this break might have actually done Starfelt good, because I think
Aye.
he was getting warmed up in the games too much. That now was the time for not just him but the whole Celtic team to actually just regroup, and just go for the second half of the season. Like, we strengthen the squad, strengthen the players that were there, get them better, and hopefully get the injuries back. Uh, I think the winter break came at a good time for Celtic, Mark, definitely, because the injuries and stuff like that, you know.
Oh, definitely, Paul. And I know Rangers fans shouldn't have brought it forward and that, but it was just common sense to bring it forward, really. And just that happened to work out well for us. That was really it. But there was
Mhm.
plenty of other teams that voted to bring it forward that didn't need to. So, but for me, it was just common sense, and it's worked out well for us. So, just
And
hope for when you
what
go.
kind of game now, Mark? Like, they've been in decline the last couple of weeks. So we beat them in the League Cup final, but that really wasn't the Sean Maloney team, because he was only appointed kind of the day after. Are you expecting a different Hibs team, or a more playing football team
I think there
from
will
Sean
be,
Maloney, do
Paul.
you think?
I think there will be. I think there'll be a more open team. But again, I mean, it's Maloney's job on the line, Paul. So although
Hmm.
we moan about Livingston and these teams coming and parking the bus against us and that, there's guys that are kind of fighting for their survival in the league and that. So you've got to look at it that way. But I don't think Maloney's that type of guy that would do that. I think
Is
he'll be trying to. I think Hibs will approach their games. See the way Celtic, even Rangers, do, they play their way. I think that's the way Hibs will be. Like they'll know they'll be more proactive rather than reactive. They'll try and play
mhm.
their own style rather than like people just need to try and defend and keep them out. They'll say, well, no, we'll have a go. We'll have a go and see if they can handle playing against us our way.
Mhm. Do you think maybe Maloney is hopefully putting himself in the shop window, Mark, for Celtic as
But when
a
Ange takes
future
her,
manager by taking this job?
as director of football, only head
Hmm.
coach. Eh?
Because it's a good move for Mark, in
Oh,
fairness.
it's a
Like,
great. I was surprised, Paul. To be honest, I really was surprised. But I mean, again, we don't know what's going on in his personal life. Maybe he wanted to come. His family wanted back in Scotland for whatever reasons or that. But it's a great opportunity for him as well. But I was surprised for him to like leave. I mean, even I said to you at the time, Paul, we spoke. I mean, he was touting him about as the director of football at Celtic. And I said to you, how could Sean Maloney go from being assistant
hmm
coach to Martinez to be the director of football at Celtic? That was just a big leap for me. But if he can prove it, I mean, he's at a good club, and Hibs have obviously said that they'll back him, or he wouldn't have left a cushy number. He wouldn't have left that job at Belgium to come to Hibs if he wasn't getting
hmm
promises of getting backed in transfers and that. But he'll obviously know the limitations. But it's a great move for him, and I hope it works out for him. Just not against us.
Yeah, it
Just
is.
just not against us.
Not against us, Mark. Exactly. Like, I don't want his homecoming to Celtic Park will victualate, because it's vital now, Mark, that Celtic
Oh, we need to win the game.
continue to get a run of games ahead of us. You know what I mean? We can't. I don't think Celtic, Mark, can afford to be dropping points anymore. You
No,
know.
I'm expecting us to come out the traps flying in the 17th, Paul. And
Hmm.
we're at home, and whether there's fans in there or no, should be able to beat Hibs. So in fact,
There's
we
a good
will beat
point you
Hibs.
made, Mark. Uh, to me on the Skype, you made a good point. Uh, do I think the standards will drop if there's no fans in? And not with Ange. I don't think
No,
that's going to affect this Celtic team, because one, Cal McGregor wants to lift the league trophy at the end of the season. Mark, there's new players in there now that want to win the trophy, and wants to win trophies. I just can't see it, Mark. You know?
no, definitely. I said that to you, Paul. Guys
Yeah.
like Ange, guys like McGregor that have been there last season and seen it. Ralston, even the professionalism, Paul, the full kind of team they knew. There's no way that they'd end up putting in the performances at the level they were last year, whether fans here or no. obviously it's better if there's fans here, especially for guys that paid for season tickets and things like that, and maybe not getting in. But I don't think it's as big a deal as a lot of Celtic fans made it out to be. I think a lot of Celtic fans are. For me, the problem last season was Neil Lennon. That was the problem for me, whether it was fans here or whether it wasn't fans here, Paul. And I think a lot of fans are using the COVID and the fans thing there's a bit an excuse for
Mark,
it.
we lost that season the minute Neil Lennon came out and criticised his players.
Aye.
When he said, who wants to leave, leave. Do you know what I mean? There's players who don't want to be here. If you don't want to be here, leave. And that's when
I mean, it's like
Neil
Paul,
Lennon downfall happened.
you talk to a player and you asked him. I mean, but for Jackie McNamara and he's talked about how the atmosphere at Park can drive you on and things like that. But if you talk to ex-player and they'll say, "Oh, you love the fans behind your back shouting your name and screaming your name." But see if a player's getting dogs abuse, we just shut it out. Once we go in the park, we don't hear what the crowd's saying. Again, it's just do you get what I mean? It's whatever kind of suits them at the time, whatever they're talking about.
Yeah.
I just don't think the fans not being in there last season had as big an effect on the outcome of the season as people are giving it credit for.
That's it for tonight, lads. Thanks to all of you for joining us on the live chat tonight. We'll be back again on Sunday night at the same time, 7 o'clock. If you want to join us again, Mark will now close the show.
Well, just while we're on, Paul, that's what we're. While games are going on during the week, we'll be podcasting it suit round about games, but going forward, we'll be doing a podcast every Sunday night. Wouldn't it, Paul? Either 6:30 or 7 o'clock.
Sunday night and
every Sunday night, and then the rest of them will just kind of fit in round about the fixtures,
matches, transfer windows, stuff like that. Yeah.
But we'll be live on air every Sunday night, either it's 6:30 or 7 o'clock. So if you like it, subscribe it. You'll get a notification when we go live, and we'll put it up on the forum and that anyway, which is a more than all welcome to come out to the forum, www.celticrumours.co.uk, and get join in the chat on there. All the links to stuff like that in the Discord are on the description box below, so feel free to come and join us on there. Hail, hail, God bless.